This is Kyle McCord, and you're listening to Austin, Felix, and Matt on the Devy Debate.
Welcome to the Devy Debate. All right, boys. Are we ready to debate? Austin, you tweeted something, girl. You tweeted your running back rankings. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. You jumped up and...
That's Austin Nace.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say he stepped out, but
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncourt for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate Dax Milne on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruni.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And it's Justin Fields on the carry. Watch out! Justin Fields! Hello, Columbus! 51 yards!
Bruni, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Gotta get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Gotta continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies because Herb Street ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruni and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. So we had something prepared. We were going to do a bit over several weeks where Chris Moxley took over the show and kicked people off the show based on the lack of support for that individual host. Well, Chris had a family emergency that he had to attend to, so we kind of had to pull the plug on the bit. But we really need to just take this moment to say how much support there actually had been for the show. Not just in the last couple of weeks, but from the beginning. I mean, we like to make fun of ourselves and poke fun at the podcast format and to do things different. And we were saying that there wasn't support for the show, but there's legitimate support. I mean, not only have we gotten reviews from you guys, but the reviews are like so specific that we can tell you understand the inside jokes. We can tell that you actually get the show. And it's kind of endearing because I think when we started this, Austin, at least I know for me, I wanted to make Austin laugh and I wanted to get under Matt's skin. And we poke and prod each other, and we do different stuff to keep the show entertaining. But guys, when we look at the support that we've gotten in the last 2 weeks, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
I'll double those sentiments. That's all I've got. No, thank you guys very much. Yeah, I mean, we got lots of reviews and everything. Obviously, would have liked to get Matt out of here for a week, get Felix out of here for a week, and just sit down with Chris a little bit, but it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and we're almost to 100 episodes, so I mean, we'll do 100 more, and then maybe we'll call it quits. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when we started this, I didn't think it was going to become what it kind of has become. I mean, it's almost, I think, a reflection too of I say family, the family that we're building at C2C, like in our Discord, like the the hashtag C2C movements. We've got people that, like, I don't want to say they're like borderline crazy fans, but they kind of are with the way that they know our inside jokes. They kind of tweet at us different stuff. Like you said, the reviews, it is funny going in there. Not even just the ones that we've gotten recently. You can go all the way back to some of the very first ones that we've got. They clearly understand the inside jokes of the show. It's just, it's fun to be able to come out here and do this, because I know for the most part we do this stuff just because we enjoy talking to each other, just talking football. And then to see that there's actual fans that enjoy us doing this it's definitely makes it worth staying up, because I'm really tired right now. But I'm kidding. It definitely makes it worth being here every Wednesday night doing this.
I think it's just surprising to realize that, people are actually listening and paying attention and have an appreciation for what it is that we do. So we appreciate you all also. So we had started producing content in preparation for today's show and the next week's show, which would have been Mox complete. So Chris Moxley was going to take over the show and then threaten to actually end the show because there wasn't any support. So Matt had actually went out and produced some content in anticipation of that. So obviously, cat's out of the bag. Yes, it was all a hoax, but you have some content that you produced, and I don't know how to set this up for you.
Yeah, it's just, it was we got to say goodbye to you last week. And so we just put together a little something to say goodbye to Austin. Chris was going to run it as just like obviously Austin was practically about to be fired, but we all know that he's sitting on a mound of money, and that probably means he's just going to go drink margaritas with Jeff Bezos every week and now not have to worry about coming back and hanging us with us, common folk. So we just thought we'd put together a nice little video thanking him for his service with the Devy Debate.
Hey Austin, it's Mike, aka Dirty Mike. I'm sorry to hear that you got fired. You're no longer a part of the boys, but I really want you to know that it's just not you, it's us as a company. We think we can do better. Your lukewarm takes and poor calls on players like Michael Jackson III and Jalen Wally leave us confused and just not wanting any more. You have 4 eyes, and you can't seem to use one of them to find any type of talent out there. And your little man syndrome leads to harsh criticisms of others in the workplace. You are a menace to the C2C society by the way you manipulate the markets. And, I just want to say good luck. And maybe try your hand at Walter Football. I think maybe you could fit in with that group over there. Good luck to you, Austin.
Hey guys, so I just heard the breaking news. Austin's no longer on Devy Debate due to his lukewarm takes and even more lukewarm cop impression. Gotta say, it's definitely a sad day in the C2C world. Austin has been a staple of the show since it began. As long as he didn't have a vacation in the Maldives or a gala on Jeff Bezos's boat. But honestly, it's probably for the best that he's no longer with the show. Now they'll be able to bring in somebody with an actual backbone. I heard the co-host of a little show called Campus Life is available. Not the grumpy one who tells his co-host to shut the fuck up all the time. The other one, the handsome one. But either way, with Austin finally gone, the show will probably be watchable again. And that's even with 1-star worthy Ohio State homerism coming from one of the remaining co-hosts. So I just want to say good luck moving forward without Austin. Austin, don't let the door hit you on.
Hey Austin, this is Devin Brown, quarterback at Ohio State. Felix and Matt kind of put me up to this, but they just feel it's best for them, best for the company. But you're going to be being kicked off the Devy Debate podcast. Sorry, I'm the one that has to give you this information, but I guess that's just how they want it done. They just feel your takes are way too mild, and they think you're out of shape, which I guess they just don't feel you're right for the company, and you don't understand that they're so much smarter than you. So sorry again, I'm having to give you that information.
Orsky, is that you? Orsky, it's me, Paddington. How are you, my boy? Probably for the best. I heard you back in on some poundage. Drink a little too many IPAs. Snowballs. Your boy Paddington's got you here, though. Look at this. Come on back down to the Thunder Down Under. Come join me, mate, in the gym. We'll get you ripped again. Then maybe you can fight your way back on the show. Looking forward to meeting you again, Austin. We'll see ya.
That last voice you heard was one Paddington O'Neill, a character, I guess is a new character, entering the show, an Australian character. Of course, it was well, we're not going to reveal all of the secrets. If you're listening to this, you need to go check out the YouTube video to get the full spectrum. And that was Ohio State quarterback Devin Brown wishing Austin his best. All right.
Devin Brown calling me fat kind of hurt a little bit. I'm not going to lie. That really cut deep.
In fairness to him, I told him to say that. So he was just like, what do you want me to roast him on? I was like, he's gotten fat and he's lukewarm takes. And he's like, okay, I can take it from there.
Man, that hurts. That hurts.
Devin Brown obviously definitely gets the show.
If it helps, the rest of the video, which I will send to you here in a minute, is much better. He is very complimentary of the fact that you were early in on him and that you believe in him as QB1. So,
my guy.
Well, another QB1, at least for Baylor, is Blake Shapen, guys. Has been named by Dave Aranda and, quite frankly, probably Jeff Grimes there as the starting quarterback, unseating Jerry Bohannon. What is your reaction to this, and does it matter for campus to Canton leagues? Austin, let's go to you first.
So I actually watched a bunch of spring games last weekend, but I did not watch Baylor. I know you guys were covering that one, and so I spent my time elsewhere. I believe there were like 24 games last weekend. So my big takeaway isn't necessarily on him winning the job, although I think it would have been hard. Like, Jerry Bohannon is not a particularly good quarterback. He's just, kind of athletic and will keep him in a conservative offense, give him like a little bit of a spark. But what my takeaway is that, like, kudos, major kudos to Dave Aranda and this staff for deciding this now and giving Bohannon the chance to enter the portal before this May 1st deadline so he can play somewhere else next year. I think this is what we talk a lot on this show. I mean, Felix, but you've been incredibly harsh on Ryan Day, for instance, who, loads up at a position, and then, these guys are kind of hung out to dry. They sit on the bench. They don't play at all. Even though they don't really have a third guy there, Aranda went out of his way to make sure that these guys were put in the best position. You're our starter. You're not going to be our starter. If you want the opportunity to get that kind of playing time, go somewhere else. So major kudos to that staff for doing that. I would like to say that this could maybe spark other staffs to do this, but I really doubt it. You really don't have to look any further than across the state there at Texas, where Sark is letting Hudson Card think he's still in this when he's not, like at USC, where Miller Moss is being told that he has a chance against Caleb Williams there. Like there's so many of these places where we literally all are apparently in on the joke, and this poor kid isn't. And that's not what college football is about.
Kudos to Dave Aranda, but I want to dive into the analysis of its effects for C2C, because I think Blake Shapen is a top 45-ish quarterback that should be rostered now. This Jeff Grimes offense is the same offense that produced Zach Wilson. It is a combination of 49ers, wide zone, and air raid. That is how it's been described. And we know the numbers that Zach Wilson put up. Well, Blake Shapen in his second year, he's a redshirt freshman, completed over 72% of his passes, I believe. This is not meant to be a pejorative. He is somewhat of a game manager, but he has been an efficient one. He completes passes, moves the chains, and occasionally will take the accurate deep shot, but completes them. So he is going into his third year, his redshirt sophomore year, in an offense that already produced a number 2 pick. Matt, I think that it is something that we at least need to pay attention to. I slotted him in right at 41, ahead of Keaton Slovis, ahead of Donovan McCulley, ahead of Garrett Schrader. Whether or not those guys are NFL quarterbacks, I think is probably already conceded. And so I put him ahead of those guys because of the potential, because of the offense. He's right behind. I got him right behind Michael Pratt. Yeah, I think it makes sense to take a shot on a player like this around that range. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually had a chance to talk with Austin Novosad, who's committed there. He's a 2023 quarterback recruit, and we actually talked a little bit about Dave Aranda. He's had a chance to talk with him multiple times. They talked a lot about how, because we all know Dave Aranda is more of a defensive-minded head coach, but he talked to Austin Novosad about how he wanted to bring someone in, which they did, as you just mentioned, who can run a more high-prolific offense because he thinks that matters in the Big 12. We know that Jerry Bohannon wasn't it. You have him a little bit. You have hit Blake ranked a little bit higher than I do. I think I put him in at like 53. I think is what I posted on your tweet or something like that. So it wasn't much farther down. But that's just kind of like my first reaction where I put him in there. I mean, we know, despite what some say, every time one of us says the Big 12 doesn't have good defense, it's like, oh, well, they have Oklahoma State and Baylor. Well, they're not playing Baylor's defense except for in practice. And Oklahoma State's defense, I think, will take a step back this year in losing Jim Knowles to Ohio State. So I do think that there's a chance that they could be very aggressive through the air. And while I don't know how much it matters in C2C, because typically you're wanting to get one of those top 24 guys, but if he does start playing well and does start jumping up to that top 30 range, then I do think that it really does matter. But right now, I've got him right around 50. We'll see what happens. Absolutely. You're not going to be surprised. Austin, sorry, I saw the comment.
Which is Matt had to get some Ohio State in there. Austin, where do you have Blake Shapen ranked?
I haven't put him in my rankings yet. The calculus that will go into it, though, for me, once I can kind of sit down and watch this and think about Baylor's offense as a whole, you had talked a little bit, Felix, he's kind of a game manager, and again, you didn't mean that in a negative way. You're just kind of describing his play style. So if he's a game manager, odds of him being a legitimate NFL draft prospect someday, I don't know. If we're trying to kind of say, like, I like the last year or so, I've kind of been developing this. Like, I either want a guy that's a high-end Devy asset or a high-end college producer, and I want nothing in between. I know that's like the dream for it, but like, you know, that I'm really trying to min-max this roster on like a campus to Canton, for instance. I don't think I have a want for him at all. So I think I'll actually be a little bit lower on him than you guys are. In terms of pure Devy, I'm probably not going to rank him in my quarterbacks for now. We'll give him a couple weeks, let him get into Big 12 play, see what he can do then. But I'll probably put him in my C2C rankings, which go at quarterback right around 100 deep. My Devy go to about 60 deep, and he will not be on that 60 deep. It might be like 50. I mean, there's not 60 quarterbacks we care about.
6 foot, 192 pounds. So, you know, we kind of got to see him be either a very prolific passer throwing the ball aggressively down the field or add some dual threat ability. He's not really a dual threat. I mean, his high end comp would probably be like Baker Mayfield or something like that.
So he needs to jump up my ranking, is what you're saying. That's kind of why I wasn't sure where to put him. He had like negative 49 rushing yards in high school. Like, he's not a dual threat guy at all. And so
does Baylor have like a solid receiving core this year? I mean, they lose Thornton. Not really. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they'll elevate his stock by making him look good.
Yeah, but I also don't know how much that matters as well. Like, I don't want to say every Big 12 defense is complete trash, but if he's able to, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, as much as we like to crap on Casey Thompson, there were weeks that he was actually viable for fantasy. Now, granted, he had Xavier Worthy, but really outside of Worthy last year, he didn't have much, but he was because he was just dumping the ball off to players. Like, with some of the guys that Baylor has, maybe if he's able to dump off and just manage the games, I mean, if it's going to end up being a higher scoring affair, maybe he puts up points. But that's why I was like, I have him at 50. I think I put him 52, 53 right now. And I'm kind of with Austin. Let's give him a couple weeks, see what happens, and then I'll either move him up, maybe I'll move him down if he plays bad. I mean, I don't think he's the future there because I don't think he's like special in any sort of way. But I could also see him being the starter for multiple years because Dave Aranda wants to win Big 12 championships, and a lot of those defensive guys are fine having game manager quarterbacks.
Is Kyron Drones dead at this point? 4-star
Yes.
class. I mean,
yes, he is.
Okay.
I will say that I think that we need to include Jeff Grimes, at least for the time being, as one of those offensive coordinators that we need to pay attention to. Now, they may not have the offensive talent there now, but as he's there with Dave Aranda, I mean, Dave Aranda's last offensive coordinator was I forgot, it was Joe Brady. So when he was at LSU. So, I think Dave Aranda knows the value of having a high-scoring, high-octane offense. And Jeff Grimes has produced that in the past. So let's see if he can continue to recruit that type of talent there in Waco. All right, let's move on here to – listen, we did this last week. We overreacted to the spring games that were played the week prior. And we are so innovative with the content that we brought it back. We are overreacting to the spring game. So, Austin Nace, why don't you start us off and give us some of your overreactions?
I feel like I could overreact to a lot of these Big 12 games and say that Texas is going to win the Pac-12 or the Big 12, or Baylor is going to win the Big 12. But you know who I'm actually going to pick to win the Big 12? Oklahoma State. Yes, Oklahoma State is going to be a dangerous team this year, guys, as long as Spencer Sanders cannot F up long enough for the rest of the pieces there to work their magic. Jaden Bray has been, by all accounts, really, really good this year at camp. I feel like we had talked about him like a year or so ago, and somebody said they really hated Jaden Bray, and one of us said they really liked Jaden Bray. I don't really remember who that was.
I just called Jaden Bray a buy low a couple of weeks ago, so I don't even want to hear that.
A couple of weeks ago.
And you were like, oh, Talon Shetron. I'm like, Talon Shetron's doing – now all of a sudden Jaden Bray is doing well in camp. So
yeah, Shetron and Bray. There's your two-headed monster. Brennan Presley, they're not really going to target the slot that much. We saw last year he had like 40 catches, but he's a dangerous guy in that position. So now they've got two guys that they usually like that kind of deep ball, jump ball, go get it. They got two of those guys now, plus Presley. I know you really like Dominic Richardson, Felix, the running back there. And then Ollie Gordon has apparently looked really good as well. He got hurt his first snap this week in that game, but by all accounts, it's a minor injury. He'll be fine. I mean, really, as long as Spencer Sanders is okay, which he has been for the majority of his career until he has a meltdown here or there. If they can do that, I seriously think they can win this conference, a year where Oklahoma's probably down, where we think Texas is going to be good, but there's a lot of like what ifs there. And Baylor, I mean, they lose a running back, they lose Tyquan Thornton, they lose a bunch of guys on defense, their leading linebacker, one of the better corners. So like it's an open conference. It really would not shock me if Oklahoma State won this thing and gets some serious playoff buzz.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a team that's like a quarterback away from being really dynamic. They're skill position players. They're 3 wide receivers and they're two running backs deep. I mean, very dynamic players for a college offense. It just is Spencer Sanders going to be able to distribute the ball to everyone there. Matt, you want to give us some of your overreactions? I mean, is it? Are we going to start with your boys Hudson Card and?
No, we'll save them for a minute. I want to start with Caleb Williams and how he's just been like anointed the next coming of like Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers combined, because he destroyed an incredibly bad USC defense in the spring game. Like, come on, people, seriously. I think Caleb Williams is going to be good. I think is it Nate that has him as number 1 in his CFF rankings, right? Which makes some sense because of what you guys have talked about and that defense is going to be so bad. But I also don't think that offense is going to be as good as they showed in that spring game. That offensive line is still not that good. The wide receiver core, I think, it needs to grow up some outside of what is it, Mario, and I cannot for the life of me now remember his last name.
Williams,
sorry.
Williams.
Yeah, I know you're about to talk about him anyway. So, like, outside of Mario Williams, we don't know what that wide receiver core is going to look like. I don't think this offense is going to look nearly as good as it showed in that spring game, and everybody's talking about him now like, oh, he should be right up there with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young as a Heisman contender, and he's probably going to take USC to the playoffs. Like, I think USC is going to lose at least 2 games, and I don't know that Caleb Williams is going to be quite as good as everybody is saying now just because of what he did in the spring game.
But isn't the offensive line and the defense going to require that of him to be a dynamic rusher, to do everything in the passing game? I mean, he's going to have to be an all-world player, which he is absolutely capable of.
He is, but he's also going to play some better defenses that he did not play in the Big 12. The couple times that he did, and I can't remember if it was Kansas or Kansas State, he struggled for a little bit in that game. There was one game that he was benched at one point. Now, granted, he could have grown. That was a true freshman, right? Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be what he was last year. But Oregon's defense is a lot better than anything he faced last year, and so is Utah's. I don't know that he's going to go out there and just be able to put everything on his shoulders with one wide receiver, an okay running game, a horrible offensive line, and just be like, hey, go get him, kid. Take us to the playoffs. Like, I still think they're going to be good. 2023 is probably their year to do something. But to just so many people going out there and saying he's a Heisman favorite and should be like a better guy than this and that is ridiculous off a spring game to me. That's kind of what just set me off. It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. He's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be that good.
He got Heisman hype last year after like 4 games. That was the most bizarre thing ever.
I think it was because of that Texas game, though. And we all got excited about that too, though, right? I mean, he brought him back, largest comeback in Oklahoma history in the Red River Shootout. Like, it was a good game, and he looked good. But then again, and I've brought it up multiple times since then, if you go back and look at what he did the rest of the year, he wasn't as good sometimes as like people claim that he was. He struggled with some things. Now, Grant doesn't mean he can't be better. He's had a whole year to improve, and he's stuck with the guy who believes in him in Lincoln Riley. So chances are he's going to be better than what we saw him at his worst moments last year. But I just don't think I don't think people should be elevating him to CJ Stroud and Bryce Young territory right now. I just don't think he's there.
I'm kind of off the underestimating Caleb Williams train. I mean, we did that before he was a freshman, and then we kind of got slapped in the face of how he looked in the spring game, how efficient he was at the pass. The problem with Caleb Williams is he was a 55% completion percentage passer in high school, and like, all right, he's going to get better. Yeah, he did. He did get better, and he's gotten better even from Oklahoma to USC. My overreaction is, of course, one Mario Williams. Now, I remember being laughed at and ridiculed about Mario Williams. I mean, Austin even asked me, you have him ranked ahead of Marvin Mims? I said, yeah, because he has inside-out versatility, and I don't think that Marvin Mims has that inside-out versatility. Well, the touchdown pass the two passes that he caught were beating a quarter on the outside, the one for the touchdown and then one of a very long gain where he got like 7 yards of separation. He was the 7th rated wide receiver in that class. He was my freshman wide receiver number 2, always in the top 10 of my rankings, just behind JoJo Earl. I had him ranked ahead of a Guy Hall. I had him ahead of Ja'Cory Brooks. And I think that it has panned out that, yes, he should be ranked ahead of those two. It wasn't only just scheme fit, but he has the skill set that the NFL is looking for. He's quick twitch. He has speed. He can play outside. He can play the slot if you want to. I think that this is a future NFL player. I think that he could put up 1,000 yards and 8-9 touchdowns for USC this year because he looks to be their clear number 1 receiver. And if he's going to be deployed downfield as the number 1 receiver, then the sky's the limit for him, because that was the problem last year, is that he was used as the outlet on a lot of these RPO passes and was catching the ball around the line of scrimmage, which didn't make any sense because that's not how they used him in Oklahoma spring game last year. So hopefully they deploy him downfield. And I mean, Mario Williams I think that he's super high potential, very good football player, showed it in the spring game.
The only worry I'd have about him being deployed like he was in that spring game is Gary Bryant coming back and playing the Marvin Mims role. I think there's a decent chance of that happening.
Yeah. And Gary Bryant has the opportunity to transfer. He hasn't transferred yet. So he and Michael Jackson, who you'd like there. Michael Jackson had one good game last year as a freshman, I think against Washington, like 5 for 78 or something like that. I actually like both of those players, but I mean, there's those two. There's the All-American Jake, whatever his name is, from Texas. There's Taj Washington from.
I don't think Smith's on the roster anymore.
Yeah.
Just
is he not? Jake Smith's not there?
No.
Well, he's still got Taj Washington, did Jake Smith, did he transfer? Because he transferred once.
I don't think he's with the team anymore. It's just what I've heard.
Okay.
He can't stay healthy, so I don't know if the two are related. But
well, there's lots of depth there, and it'll be interesting to see, because if Gary Bryant had success with Jackson Dart late last season, if he can have success with Jackson Dart, he can have success with Caleb Williams. And he projects to be the slot receiver. I mean, it would be Bryant on the inside, Williams on the outside, and then maybe Ford, the other outside wide receiver. So, what about? Let's transition here. Speaking of overreacting, I mentioned Jackson Dart. A couple of quarterbacks had very bad performances. Drew Holler was one. Jackson Dart was the other. Matthew? Did you move either of them down in your rankings as a result of the spring game?
No. Dart, I think his is a major overreaction because he looked a lot better in the second half than he did in the first. I'm not really worried about Dart. He's kind of always been a gunslinger, and if we're being honest, that worked for Matt Corral for the most part there in Lane Kiffin's offense. And I want to say it was you and Colin Austin on Campus Life this week talked about how much they ran Dart as well. If they're going to run him, he's bigger than Corral. If he's able to get some kind of rushing, it's like I said, he's a top 30 quarterback. If he gets those kind of rushing attempts, even down at the goal line and gets some touchdowns, he's going to be better than that. So no, I'm not worried about Dart. I'm not moving Allard down. It's definitely concerning, but maybe that's just because I wanted him to be better than and more ready than maybe he was. We had heard and read things that, like, while he's been good and he was the top-rated quarterback, like, he needed some growing up to do. And I read some things about James Franklin touting him, but there were times that Franklin said he's not ready, and clearly Franklin was not lying. So I'm not moving him down. One of those interceptions, he hit the wide receiver in the hands while in my opinion, he threw it a little bit behind the receiver, which is kind of on Allard as well, in my opinion. It still hit the receiver in the hands. He probably should have caught it. The other one was just a clear miss. We saw, like, veteran quarterbacks completely miss linebackers in the middle of the field in spring games the past 2 weeks as well. So I'm not moving him down as disappointing because I think I was one of the biggest guys saying, hey, I think he's going to play this year. I think that's completely out the window now. But I'm not moving him down unless this happens again. If we're talking about this next year in spring game, and then maybe at which point he will be moved down my ranks.
Just something to remember on Drew Aller for everybody. I'm not directing this at Matt. Is that he's really only been playing quarterback for like 3 years. Like really, was not really even really playing football leading up to that point, which is why he had that major overhaul. If you've seen any of the videos and like his throwing motion, because he was just out there like I would go out there and throw a football. Like I don't know anything about, like getting my proper mechanics and stuff. So yeah, I'm like wildly gesturing here on camera for anybody not watching right now. So I think that's something to consider with him and why he still needs a year. I still think he has, if not the highest ceiling in the class, then definitely a top 3 ceiling. But that's still why I moved Devin Brown over him a couple of months ago, because I just think he's got a very close ceiling, and I think he's more ready now. And so he feels a little bit safer to me. And so I'll take, the perceived, 5% less ceiling that I think is a little more likely to get there over Aller. But I didn't move Aller, and I moved Dart down, I believe, 1 spot. So not really.
I don't know if you guys have seen the Twitter video of the guy that's made fun of all the time. Yeah, that's
exactly what Austin looked like. He looked like a Disney child trying to pretend to be a quarterback and throwing that. I'll say this about Drew Aller. His comp is Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, a very raw player who took some time to develop. And quite frankly, Josh Allen is a player who functions better out of structure, and out of structure play doesn't work that well in the spring game where the quarterbacks aren't live. So let's wait and see on Drew on Drew Aller, who is still my. I don't remember if it's either him or Brown as my number one quarterback in the class, but very highly touted. Matt, I do want to ask you about Jackson Dart because you said that he's a top 30 quarterback. I feel like everybody has him in the top 10.
Sorry, I'm talking about for
CFF
scoring. I'm sorry. I didn't specify that. We were talking about on, I don't remember who I was talking with on Twitter. Moxley, because Moxley is on a vengeance against Dart now because some of us have said that I think Dart can be, which he's probably not going to be, with especially as bad as USC's defense is. But I said that I thought at the end of the day, those two would be close enough that I would take Dart over Caleb Williams earlier after the transfer. And he was saying that he doesn't think Dart would even be a top 30 CFF quarterback. And I disagree with that. I think he's going to be just fine.
All right. Those are overreactions to the spring game. A couple of housekeeping elements here. I do want to remind everyone about the Devy Summit, May 22nd, starting at noon Eastern. Myself, Matt Hicks from the Rookie Big Board, and of course, big homie Brandon Lejeune, Devy Deep Dive on Twitter. We've got an outstanding lineup for the afternoon and into the evening. We are going to be raising money for Ukrainian refugee relief efforts. That war obviously still going on. So you are going to want to tap in, as the kids say, on May 22nd from noon Eastern all the way until 6 Eastern. I'll be there. Matt Bruning will be there. Austin's going to be at Elite 11 on that particular day, or coming Elite 11. So please tap in. Prize picks. If you are paying attention to the NBA playoffs, please go ahead and use promo code C2C. Just think about it. You get $20. They match your deposit up to $100. You can get $29.99 towards a year-long subscription at our website. It just so happens that a year-long subscription at C2C is the $29.99 for the walk-on tier. So pay attention to that. And hey, if you're not going to pay attention, if you're not going to use Prize Picks, pay attention to Sharp Sports. No relation. Sharp Sports on YouTube. Big presence on the YouTube scene. Got over 224,000 subscribers. Some of his videos have literally had millions of views. He's going deep into classes, and he's a C2C ambassador. So pay attention to his video. Subscribe to Sharp Sports on YouTube. Let's go in here, Austin, to the best takes of the spring. I'm laughing at your note here on the show sheet. What were some of your best takes?
For anybody at home, I wrote none. I stink. But I think the one that is shaping up to be the best is really been my year-long love affair with Clay Millen. Is like my favorite.
Oh, I thought that was
Matthew. No, it's been me.
It is, but just Austin said he didn't have any, so it's just like, go ahead, Austin, you can have this one.
Did you put Millen on it? Whatever. Regardless. Millen's been a guy where I was saying all last offseason, like, Carson Strong is gone. He wants Norvell wants a quarterback that is going to not only have the arm to push the ball downfield, but the mentality, the almost like need to push the ball downfield. That's just what that offense requires. Clay Millen is that kind of player. And, I don't want to get too hot takey with this because Carson Strong, he has the knee issue, and I think that's going to scare away a lot of NFL teams. I think a lot of people who really like Carson Strong have kind of come around to just that being like a fact of life. I'll tell you what, like, Clay Millen might end up being the guy that the NFL likes more when he comes out. And I think a lot of it could be because he does not have that knee injury, but they have a very similar skill set. He's big. He can move. He's not inaccurate. I think that's still something he's going to be working on, but they have a lot of weapons there at Colorado State. Stovall, they have Horton, they have Dante Wright, they have Gary Anderson, the tight end. Like, it's a lot of guys that maybe aren't like household names. They're kind of, if you're a CFF junkie or a C2C guy, it's like, but they are very good college players. And I think that stable of weapons in that conference, I think they're going to make some serious noise. I think Clay Millen is going to be on a lot of radars. And I think if you aren't taking him seriously, if you're in a Devy draft, it's Devy depleted, you get past 6 or 7 rounds, I would have no problem trying to hit Clay Millen in a regular Devy league and in a C2C league. I think your year of getting him at pick 4 in the round 40 is gone. I think if you're not taking him by round 15 now, very similar to Hunter Deckers, to Some of these other guys who are now going way earlier than they were last offseason because you didn't stash them then. He just falls into that category.
In Millen, you could probably plug in as a starter if you are going 0 QB in your draft, but definitely giving you an excuse to stay up and watch Mountain West Conference games. That's one thing I love about Campus to Canton is your knowledge base of the player pool expands every single year, and you can pretty much watch any game and know the backgrounds of these particular players. Dante Wright has not been very effective there, at least yet. I mean, dynamic freshman season, it seems like years ago now in 2020 with Warren playing alongside Warren Jackson there at Colorado State. So we got to wait and see if he's actually going to have a role there at Colorado State under Jay Norvell, whose offense is really dynamic. Matthew, what are some of your best takes? All right, Matthew just disappeared, so I'll give you my best take. The thing about C2C is that you can have a take and it just not be the right year for that take to manifest. And I think that was true for Hunter Deckers, who you just mentioned, who I knew would be backing up Brock Purdy, but deployed as a starter this year, but also one Anthony Richardson. It was very easy to see that he was the best athlete coming in as a freshman. You can go ahead and look at his measurables, and you can see how he played against some lower competition last year in relief of Emory Jones. But we are talking about someone who's he's a fast Cam Newton. I mean, someone who can run over your linebackers and outrun your defensive backs in the running game. He just needs to improve like ever so slightly in the passing game. We know that he has the arm strength. He was at the Elite 11 regionals throwing the ball 70 yards. He just has to have the processing ability, the timing, the touch. And if he can develop that, and give Billy Napier some credit if he can develop that, he's going to be a top 5. He's just going to be a top 5 pick if he reaches that potential. That means that in a class that looked to have only C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling of both of them because of what he can do in the running game. This is someone who could legitimately run for 1,000 yards in the NFL. This is somebody who could legitimately run for 15 touchdowns in the NFL. So it's one Anthony Richardson, who was one of my guys last year when we did the My Guys show, is Anthony Richardson. So that take is going to manifest itself this year, and I promise I am not going to be an ass.
Hey, Felix, I have a question for you. I think the only comparable player we've seen to him from like a physical standpoint, and I think they're even slightly different athletes over the past decade plus, is probably Cam Newton. Like, he's not Michael Vick. He's so much bigger than Michael Vick. He's so much bigger than Lamar Jackson. Like, that's not the comparable, and I think he's more athletic than a Josh Allen, who we think is like a bit like Cam Newton's really the only guy. How, like, does he even actually have to get that much better at passing for an NFL team just to say, like, F it? Like, I see Cam Newton if I squint my eyes a little bit here.
Well, so the thing, I don't think that we've seen an offense function at the level Anthony Richardson showed passing last year. You know what I mean? Like, they would be at a severe disadvantage. You're talking about, I don't know, like what they try to do with Pat White in Miami, kind of running some sort of wildcat offense, which, by the way, I mean, you might be able to win with Anthony Richardson as your wildcat quarterback. But he does need to show some development in that area to be for a team thinking as innovatively as the Baltimore Ravens, saying, all right, we're going to build a team around this guy. But we saw it with Tim Tebow. I mean, Tim Tebow was a terrible passer, didn't have nearly the arm talent that Anthony Richardson did, and he was taken in the first round. So I think we are headed towards Anthony Richardson being a first-round pick. On the other hand, one Hunter Deckers, who – by all accounts has been very good. He came in as a freshman a little bit overweight, 236 pounds, something like that at 6'2". And you can tell that he really slimmed down. I would bet that he is under, around 225, maybe under 225 now. The all-time leading passer or yardage holder in the high school in Iowa, in a very good offense in a conference with defenses that aren't great. these are two players that I've been pounding the table for since last year, and we're going to see. I'm not going. It looks good now. They've had very good springs. Richardson's Heisman odds increased substantially after the spring game. We didn't get to see Hunter Decker's spring game, only clips where he scored a touchdown. But he's going to be a part of that running game that lost Breece Hall. He's going to be obviously a focus of the passing game. I think that I'm going to end up being right on both of these takes. All right. Matthew, what do you got as far as best takes?
I think my best one, which I'm just going to be 100% honest, is probably going to happen just by pure accident and happenstance, but is Troy Franklin and Emeka Egbuka are going to break that second-year breakout thing that Mike Valeri posted on Twitter a while back, where like guys who really didn't do much in their first years and then come out and have 900-plus receiving yards. I think it's like 5 touchdowns or something like that. While Troy Franklin wasn't necessarily the talk of the Oregon spring game, it went more to Thornton and Seven McGee, who Seven McGee I'm going to claim, even though it was really just because of what I read and heard in the spring reports, is the only reason I talked about it, if I'm being honest. But both those guys definitely looked better, but I think Franklin is the best of that group. And Bo Nix, while I don't know if he's going to be an absolute stud, I think can be good for that offense, and he's going to throw the ball down the field. Lanning has said that he wants that. He does not seem to be following in the Kirby Smart footsteps of, I want a game manager, I'm going to play defense and run the ball. He wants to pass the ball down the field. If they do that, Troy Franklin has a chance to do that. And so does Emeka Egbuka. I said it beforehand. Everybody was off of him and like, nope, no shots. He's not going to start. He's going to be this guy. And I tried telling everybody, they want him to be this super sub, even if Julian Fleming starts over him. He's going to come in for Marvin Harrison, JSN, and Julian Fleming. He's going to be all over the field. He's learned all 3 positions. We saw a bit in that spring game. And last year, all 3 of those receivers had over 900 receiving yards. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, JSN. Both Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave missed games. JSN did not. I think easily they're going to have 3 guys who go over again this year because we know defenses are going to focus in on JSN. He'll get his, but Marvin Harrison's going to have a good season, and I do think one other player will, and it's going to be Mecca, in my opinion. That's what I said. Got a lot of kickback on that from a lot of people on our team, and I really think I'm going to be proven right by that just based on what those guys have done in the spring.
I'm shocked that Matthew's take is related to Ohio State. I want to make a prediction.
Wade, man. Just for my boy Wade. I just feel like I want to make him happy.
Matthew's referring to a review of the show which complained about Matthew's takes on Ohio State. I want to make a prediction for next year. I think that next year you will see the sports networks invest more resources into spring games. There's no, like, if I was Fox Sports this Saturday where you had all of these spring games that they had rights to, I would have had a big noon kickoff. We would have been checking in, on network television, on Fox with these spring games instead of we're paying attention to this USFL stuff. No, like you can do this over multiple weeks where you are checking in with spring games. That's how big. I mean, you saw Oklahoma spring game, how many fans they had there at the game. I think that next year we see ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS invest money. You might see Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush doing a spring game, a noon kickoff, a broadcast television show with spring games. It just makes sense. All right. Mike Valerie, you are going to be taking over the after show here. It's all of us. Sorry, we didn't get kicked off. Who are you bringing on?
I'm bringing on Corey, the Devy team lead here at Campus King, and we're going to be talking about just 5 guys here. We're talking about Marvin Mims, Dwayne McBride, Dontavion Wicks, and Jerkovich and Cardwell.
All right. So, of course, check out the after show. Check out the website. There is always something new. We've just gotten a new writer on the team. Is that right, Austin?
Probationary period, but yes. So.
Probationary.
He's writing draft content. We'll see where it goes from there. But yes, he's great so far.
Okay. Obviously, the lineup of podcasts on the Campus to Can podcast feed. You got Chasing the Natty on Mondays, Campus Life on Tuesday, Monday night, Tuesday morning. you're listening or watching Devy Debate right now, Canton Bound on Thursdays, the official on Thursdays, also the Hero RB show, which, I mean, for my money is the best minute-for-minute podcast that there is out there, featuring Noah Hills, who also does work for Player Profiler, Breakout Finder, and BDGE. So check out the Hero RB show, the Future Freshman podcast on Friday. And I think we're done with the daily draft report, but if you want to check out 15 minutes on any of the prospects that you could be considering in your Campus to Canton drafts or your Dynasty rookie drafts, you can check out the daily draft report hosted by Dwight Peebles. And spring practice recaps, I think, are done, but you may check in on the YouTube page for those. All right. That is going to be our show for tonight. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We went a little bit longer with the spring game overreactions, but we will get him rescheduled soon. For Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. I thought that was good, the appreciation we showed for the audience. Heartfelt.
Company man in the hat. What a guy.
What's up?
What's up, Corey?
You're muted,
Mike
Mike.
has muted himself. Matt is. So
no, we're good. Okay.
I think we're all going to jump off. I will jump back on to Matt. Do you want me to cut the show?
Sure, because I have a bunch of shit I need to get done that I told my wife was already done. So that'd be great, actually.
My wife loves.
I'll cut the show. I got to teach Mike how to cut the show. And
well, hey, really quick. Not that I really care if this is going live. So should I move back? I have that interview dropping tomorrow, but I forgot Noah's podcast drops tomorrow too. Should I put that out on Friday then?
I've just recorded a podcast too with all these new people in that league. I don't know.
I just don't want 4 shows dropping on Thursday. Oh, I guess official doesn't go on the podcast, but we're gonna have this after show and then Noah Hills on Thursday, right?
I actually don't know if Noah sent me a new episode this week. I actually have to DM him. Thank you for reminding me.
If you ask Colin, there's probably not enough content coming out on a daily basis.
That's what I heard. So some people have told him. So that's fine. I'll just leave
release it, Matt, because it's not that long. The interview's not that long, and I will upload this First Timers League podcast for Friday morning. So.
Too much stuff. What a problem to have.
Yeah. I'm ready to turn it over to Mike. Mike, you got it?
Yeah.
Don't break it. Be nice. Don't break it.
We're
don't hit any mailboxes.
We're dialing it down from last week.
I bet Mike feels better on Thursday morning this week than he did last week.
Yeah, that was terrible. But my wife's still mad. I look over and the bottle's empty, and I'm like, oh no. And I come back to it like 3 a.m. on the bathroom floor, and I'm still there for like another 2 more hours. It was terrible. I'm past that age. I can't do that anymore.
Well, I'm going to watch, but we'll let you drive, Mike.
All right. Corey, let's start it off with Phil Jerkovich, right? So you said I was too low. I'm looking at my rankings. I know I updated them before you sent the last message, so I'm gonna tell you I have him at 40 right now.
Holy shit.
And where do you have him?
I have all I got it open right now. Let me take a look. I've got Jerkovich at 19.
All right. And this is for like Devy rankings, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So he was eligible this year. I'm getting that right so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year, right? So for me, again, I start my process off with trends. And as far as the trends go for quarterbacks, you really don't ever see more than 5 go in the first round. I can't think of a single class that's gone over that. And so for me next year, it's going to be Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. I got Tyler Van Dyke here, and then I got Anthony Richardson. And then after that, I have like in my tiers, we don't do rankings by tiers here on the website, but I have like a mosh of like 15 dudes in the same tier.
Mm-hmm.
And now if I go in that sub tier and I'm like, who has special arm talent? You know, the bingo word everybody uses, but I'm not qualified to honestly give my like judgment of special arm talent. once I go down to like that level, I'm like, well, I guess like Will Levis is in there, Cameron Ward's in that ranking.
Mhm.
And then there's guys that I think are super accurate and smart, like Mac Jones. I don't really feel like you always need to have that quote unquote special arm talent, because if you go to a system like Mac Jones has with the Patriots, he fits and he works, and that's just and that's how he finds his relevance. So in that category, I then have I have Dylan Gabriel really high, and then I have Will Rogers really high, and that's probably really about it. So that's why I got Jerkovic so low, because I don't think he's better than these guys right here, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he has more tools than you're kind of giving him credit for. I mean, This is a guy who was like the number 4 dual threat quarterback in his class or whatever. I think there's something there. High 4-star guy, like Bama offers, Clemson offers, Penn State offers. Like, this was a guy with a lot of pedigree and has that good size, like 6'5", 225, 230, something like that. And like, I don't know, the NFL is constantly trending towards tools now, right? And even with him, my running comp has kind of been Carson Wentz, who I know that's going to be bad for some people, be good for some people. I know this is a guy who's a first round pick that people bought because of his tools, right? And I see like the good and the bad, a little bit of sloppy feet and stuff like that, but I also see the off platform throws that he can make that the NFL loves now, playing out of structure, which is something he actually excelled in, sometimes more than even playing in structure. And still, this is a guy who's really only started 1 year with Boston College, which was a run-heavy team when he came into it as well. Hafley was starting to change the philosophy there a little bit. But, I mean, he was in, like, one-possession games with, like, the ranked teams he faced that year. I can't remember which ones they were. Clemson was one of them. Somebody else was one of them. He really, to me, played better in second halves and stuff like that, too, like, really settled into games. And, like, I was excited to see him coming into this year, too, and then started off with, like, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns his first game, and then ended up like breaking his hand the next game. And now like the stigma's completely down on him because he came back later in the year. Clearly wasn't 100%. He was never expected to even come back. It was clearly less than 100%, even admitted to it now this year. Ended up running a lot more, but he just didn't look good. And now people are like way down on him because of the way that the end of that year the way that year ended. I mean, now he's coming back. He's got Zay Flowers coming back. He's coming in fully healthy. Like I think he's got a good chance of climbing. Like you said, there's not really a lot of guys after those first like 4 guys. And then even Van Dyke, I could say that if Jerkovic put it all together, he's probably got more tools than a guy like Van Dyke.
Yeah, I also do look at size too. I comment about size, everything. I love Jerkovic's actual size. I mean, he's 6'5", 225, I believe, in that range. And that's just, I mean, that's big. I mean, that's huge. And he doesn't move like a statue either, like some of the other 6'5" guys out there.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I'm not worried that he transferred from Notre Dame like early on, because I know people want to bring up the transfers once the draft rolls around. But another concern of mine is his like completion percentage and just his ADOT too. And it is, like you said, encouraging that Zay Flowers is coming back. Like that's his number 1 guy. So there really shouldn't be like a step back at all. But I don't know. It's not like his numbers pop off the page either. It's fine that he's toolsy, but I need a production profile too. Which was
it's a little bit of a projection. I mean, it's a guy that I'm kind of, whatever, hitching my wagon to a little bit.
Yeah.
I just kind of hope that I can see him grow. And even when we saw him in that first game last year where he threw for the over 300 yards and stuff like that, I was excited. I was like, oh man, my call is going to hit, and then all this happened. So it still remains to be seen how he comes back. I might have him ranked a little bit too aggressively, to be honest. I'll take a look at it and see what I'm going to do. But yeah, I'm just hoping that he can match the ranking I'm giving him.
Okay. Yeah. So I do have 10 guys from the 25 class in front of him. And obviously those guys will drop off within 2 years once we get a more clarification on who's the main guy in that class. And I am looking at my rankings right now, and I'm telling you what, I got to lower Jaden DeLora right now, because
you do have to lower. I'm not on him that much for NFL, at least just size wise, at least like that his size scares me. But
yeah, I think I just bought into the Arizona hype, like they're actually a relevant team for once, just like put them all up there. Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of like right now I have in front of me Spencer Rattler, who I can talk poorly about for about like 10 hours straight. And then I got my crush of the freshman class, that's like Ninko, who I actually just watched last night. I've been like binge watching the spring games the last like 3 days.
Nice. I still have to catch up on a bunch. My kid's actually been sick a little bit, but it's been slowing down the process a little bit. But yeah, I still got to catch up on a few of them yet.
Yeah, I do. My wife just got COVID, so I'm not, but I feel good.
So you got a lot of free time, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I leave work at 10. I like wipe down my office, told my boss. So, but yeah, I mean, I got Malik Cunningham in here too, and it's not that I believe in Malik Cunningham. I have him in front. I have him at 32. It's just that the hype train for dual threat quarterbacks is just out of control.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not there for Malik Willis, but right now I'm projecting Malik Cunningham to be like next year's Malik Willis, where like, you know, he makes a couple of throws here and there, and all of a sudden he's a guy.
Yeah, I mean, if he really takes a step forward with the passing, then he could. And he's probably like the closest guy to maybe having Lamar speed. Really, like he's pretty damn fast. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But he has the tools. I'm still pretty disappointed in him as a passer, and it's a lot of run first tendencies. Whenever he doesn't see something, he just takes off and runs. But yeah, I got to see him clean up some of that stuff. But yeah, I could see that.
We'll see tomorrow night, but it's like almost like I feel like people don't care about the arm anymore. Like, oh, he can run the ball. I just think everyone's chasing the unicorn. You know, Lamar Jackson's definitely changed the game for quarterbacks in the NFL level. And then there's guys like Josh Allen who had like didn't have a great profile in my opinion, but then he had a horrible rookie season on top of that. Yeah. And then he turns it around to become like an all-star talent. And now everyone's like, well, we got to hold on to Daniel Jones. We got to hold on to Drew Lock.
Yeah, we got to hold on. That's the first excuse you hear now is like, well, it took Josh Allen 3 years, so maybe he just needs another couple of years.
Yeah. It's like one person does it, all of a sudden everybody has a chance. And I know I shouldn't be counting people out ahead of time, but yeah, that's where I'm at for Jerkovich. So, I mean, but if he like goes off like first like 3 games and we'll get some clarity in the class right away, like he'll definitely be moving up my rankings, you know?
Yeah.
This is like, the guys here at CSC know how new I am to the landscape. And so I know for me, when it came to Dynasty, like my like tiers, not my tiers, but like my milestones were like the first 4 weeks of the NFL. Then we understand who's the guy on what team, you know, we understand the game plan. And I don't know if it's the same for college, but that's the mindset I'm taking. Like after like that 4 weeks, I'm going to do a huge reevaluation of like everything I've got.
Yeah, that was kind of like Joe Burrow's year, where it was like even after the first like 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't really believe it yet. I was still telling people, no, I'm not in on Joe Burrow. And then like once he passed that 5th week, I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Like I don't know what's happening, but something's here.
Yeah. So just for everyone listening, I have Jerkovich I have him at 40. I guess I moved him down because I moved all the freshmen up. That's what happened. And then you have him at 19 still. Is that correct?
19, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can move him up a few spots, but like I don't think I'm going past 35 at the moment.
I think you probably have some freshmen ranked pretty aggressively, and I'm actually pretty reserved with it until I kind of see the freshmen a little bit, or some of the higher ranked ones, like the 5-star guys, I'll keep up there because that's like insulated value a lot of the time. But like for some of these other guys, 4 stars and down, I'm like skeptical on them a lot of the time.
I'm super aggressive as far as the freshman goes on Nico and Brady Allen. I think those guys are going to be nuclear. I mostly Nico because I love the offensive coordinator there. I just believe in him that much.
Yeah.
And then I actually watched the spring game just for everyone listening. I think Nico had some terrible mistakes like the first like 2 drives, but then once he got comfortable, I was like, yo, he looks good. He doesn't look like a freshman. He doesn't look like a starter, but like he's not making terrible mistakes like nonstop. It was like he got comfortable and he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Brady Allen. But yeah, I'm good. Oh, and then I have Taven Jackson. I'm actually asking Austin now too, because I know Austin talks about the
Are we out on him now?
Are we out on Taven Jackson? Because I still like him, and I'm not really a believer in the 5-star afterwards. And just I have not dug into 2023 yet. That is definitely the plan here to like when all the rookie drafts are wrapped up. That is my absolute plan, is to dig into 2023.
So I think I'm on record now as saying that Taven has no chance to ever play at Tennessee. Which they're paying. So for anybody that doesn't know, Taven Jackson is true freshman incoming quarterback at Tennessee. They have a 5-star coming in next year, Nico Iamaleava, who reportedly was just paid $8 million by one of the collectives, NIL collectives at Tennessee, to bring him in there. There's 0 chance that they just paid him $8 million not to play. The only scenario Taven Jackson plays there is if Hendon Hooker gets injured, he comes in, looks amazing, and then they can't possibly bench him. That's like the only scenario. So I have dropped Taven a little bit. I still think he's very talented, but it's a matter of if he's not going to play there, where is he going to go? Who's he going to play for? What's the system going to look like? What's he got around him? So I'm still feel okay saying that I could see Taven being the better college quarterback, but I'm no longer really on him for Devy.
Okay, well, I think you're wrong.
I like him. I like him a lot. If he goes to, I don't know, what if he goes to Coastal Carolina? Like Grayson McCall's been amazing there. He's probably done about as much as you could do at Coastal Carolina, and people really don't view him as a legitimate first round.
Yeah, it's still hard to rank him.
Like
for
it's
Devy
so like, you know, and that's just an example. That would be like a great landing spot for him. Like, but in reality, for Devy purposes, that's like a death sentence for him. So like, it's just I gotta have more information here. It's so difficult. He might be the riskiest guy in Devy drafts right now. Really.
Yeah. So I also have. Okay, I'm actually now. I watched LSU spring game last night because I was hoping to get clarity on the LSU wide receiver core there. There's no clarity, and Walker Howard didn't look great, so he's like way too high on my rankings because I don't know. I'm just stuck on LSU being a powerhouse, and they're probably just not anymore.
They might win 4 games this year.
Yeah. So
I have Howard like pretty high in my rankings too, but like just because he somehow ended up as a 5-star.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that ride out and see how it goes, but not high, but at least have him ranked. Or some of the other guys, like the 4-star guys and down, I don't even have ranked yet. So,
oh man, I'm looking at it right now. It's like I got to drop Grayson McCall. He's at 19. I got Walker Howard at 21. He's got to go down. I got Gunnar Stockton at 22. Georgia does such a great job at like scouting their quarterbacks, and then the ones that leave, I feel really good about.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully that's what Gunnar Stockton does. And also, Taven Jackson can come to Kentucky after Will Levis leaves. That's all I'm saying. The spot will be open. We do not scout good quarterbacks. But, yeah. Okay, so I'm ready to move on, though. And now I am going to be way more passionate about this one here. We're going to talk about Dontavion Wicks, which I feel like I'm the only one in the world who is in on. The dude's 6'1", 205. I think he's one of the better deep threats, if not the best deep threat. I don't want to say the best, but he's one of the better deep threats because it's going to come out to the draft next year. He's got a 51.4% completion rate on targets 20-plus yards down the field. And I don't really see anyone coming close to that. And he's going to be a deep threat. He's going to be a late declare, which sucks because he got hurt in the 2020 season. But COVID gave him like the opt-out. So I don't know how it goes down on the record books. But I remember him getting injured in the offseason. Like, I remember that. But I like Dontavion Wicks, and I did like a top 15 like preseason, pre-NCAA for like my draft stuff that I do. And I think out of the 15 that I outlined, I think 10 of those 15 guys are like legitimate consensus, like going first 2 rounds. And I think I nailed it. And I think Wicks is going to be in that list. And I think Wicks is going to be one of the guys that goes top 3 rounds here next year. And that's why he's ranked so aggressively. And not like, okay, so I had him at 9 last time we talked.
Yeah.
I think I have him. Oh, I have him at 9 still. And it's not really like 9 is like an endorsement for him. And this is the same for Mims too, by the way. It's just that the 2024 class is so murky besides Worthy and Mario Williams. Like after those 2 guys, though, it's just wide open. So that's why they're ranked high, because I feel like both those guys are like guaranteed like day 2 draft capital guys, minimum day 2 draft.
Yeah, and like I don't necessarily hate Wicks at all. Like I think he's still a top 25 wide receiver for me, which is I guess a little deeper than you. But it was just the number 9 ranking that really stood out to me when you put him in as like a top 10 receiver. And like he does do a lot of good things, like good size, nice junior season production. He's going to be productive again with Armstrong. Great hands. He is a good deep threat, tracks the ball really well. I will say like the one thing that does worry me is like how dynamic of a player is he? Because like they never used him on like screens, never just got the ball in his hands and let him see what he could do in the open field. It makes me wonder if he has like the kind of quickness that like the NFL's kind of looking for nowadays. Like even like his forced missed tackles, he only forced 4 last year. So it wasn't a guy that was making a lot of people miss. Even if you like look at a lot of his tape, it's like one cut and like bulldozes into a guy or tries to power through a guy or something when he does get those short passes. But like he is a guy that plays deep and does that job well and has a lot of tools that you could like. Like I'm not sure of his speed. He looks pretty quick sometimes. I wanted to see maybe a little bit more burst off the line, but he does seem like he has it, and he has like those tools that you can like. Strikes me as like a solid player. But like, I don't know, isn't necessarily the type of player that the NFL wants lately. Like they want those quick twitch, they want those guys with separation. And I don't know if he brings like the elite tool that the NFL is going to want.
Yeah, I think you know there. I think you're right there. He's not much of an athlete, and you're right. He's not a yak guy, and yak is definitely the way the league is going. And his tape is littered with intermediate to like long to deep throws.
Yeah,
like the short routes are just not his thing. He's not quick off the line, and I don't really think he's a contested catch guy, but I will say he definitely excels at the contested catch. But yeah, I think I can agree with you there, and I can probably move him down too because I think he's ranked a little bit too. I'm coming around on some of the younger guys here, but yeah,
I keep moving younger guys up my list too. Like, where's my rankings right now?
God, yeah, dude. Well, I got him in front of. I really thought I fixed this, by the way, because I was expecting to open up my page and see him at like 13 because I have him in front of Lorenzo Styles, who I'm huge on. And then I got him in front of Luther Burden right now, and I would absolutely 100% take Luther Burden before Wicks in every single draft, no matter what. Yeah, and I got him before Emeka Ibuka, which is also a mistake. So,
yeah, I've got Luther at 9 now. I just keep moving him up, but I might be getting too aggressive with it, but we'll see. I don't know where he is. Where did he end up for you? Where did you say?
I would have put him up. He would be 9. He would be 9 because I thought I fixed these rankings.
Wicks is number 9 for you?
Well, as of this,
for Mike, he is. That's why I pointed him out.
He's 13 after midnight. Yeah, just because like there's just nobody in the 24 class that's really excelling, and I can't. It's just it's policy. I cannot endorse Mario Williams. I can't endorse 5'9" guys that weigh 180 pounds. I just can't. It's not me.
It's not even that bad of a size nowadays. I don't know.
I know. Oh, Marquise Brown is somehow making it work right now, and it doesn't even have like a top tier thrower either. So it's like.
But even smaller guys in general, like if like 5'10" and under, 5'11", like they're not that big of guys, and they're making it work. I think he could be that type of player.
They're top tier athletes, which Mario Williams is. I don't know, dude. I like the guys that have the bigger build that I feel like can win in the short separation game and the contested catch game. But again, we just both agree that Wicks is not a short separation area type guy. Short bursty. Yeah. I just like his solid hands. He just seems like a reliable target here. I can't get over how efficient he looks on the deep ball.
Yeah. He tracks the ball really well. Like it seems easy for him. It's like effortless. So, I mean, like he does a really nice job there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move him down. I'm telling you right now, you got me there. I'm going to move him down. I do want to say this, though. I can't remember if I brought this up last week or not. I think I talked to Felix about it in a Cuban restaurant last week when we met up for lunch. Are we, like just everyone here, are we worried about Alabama wide receivers? Like just the future of Alabama wide receiver core? Because with the transfer portal, you know, they had James Williams come in and take over, and now we're going to have Jermaine Burton come in and take over. And now they're bringing in the speedster from Louisville, and I wish I could remember his name.
Tyler Harrell.
Yeah, Tyler Harrell. And, like, clearly they're bringing him in because they got some package deals now. Are we seeing Alabama struggle to develop talent the way they used to now?
I don't know. I think even if you listen to Saban in some of those interviews and stuff like that, there's a couple clips that was circling around Twitter that he just like really wasn't happy that none of the freshmen like stepped up last year at all when they had a chance to. And I think maybe that's just a big part of it, that no one really stepped up, and he hasn't had that freshman come in like a Waddle or something like that produces like he wants in the first year, or sees what he wants in the first year. Like maybe this class just ended up not being the one that we all expected it to be. But I'm still not where I think it's just a matter of finding which one it is, because there's no way all these guys are going to hit all being here. Somebody might transfer away. Somebody's going to transfer in, forces somebody else to move. But I just think it's about finding the right one. That's probably it. And you got to take your chances.
Yeah. So where do you have Earl and Ja'Cory Brooks?
Okay. So my philosophy on Harrell coming in is I do think it hurts Brooks, because obviously Harrell is going to be in the slot. Harrell played like predominantly outside wide receiver when he was at Louisville, so I think he's going to be headed to the outside. Saban loves that game-breaking speed. The reports about Burton have been really good. He's going to probably lock down the other side on the outside, so I think it does hurt Ja'Cory. He's missed a bunch of time in the spring as well, so I've moved him down more. Still not far, though. I have Ja'Cory at 14 and JoJo at 12.
Okay. Yeah, I had Malik waivers too high. So I have Earl at 13 and I got Jacory at 26. I just think
so
that
you lowered me more than me. See, I have to look at that again probably, but like there's just a bunch of guys that are hoping that like break out in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to.
It just seems to me like they keep bringing outside guys, not the inside.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like reading the tea leaves here, but I guess we'll see. All right, let's move on to our next one. Marvin Mims, who we just mentioned a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I don't know what to call it. I don't think Oklahoma is like the dumpster fire that everyone was making it out to be once Lincoln and Riley left, and you see everyone like transferring out and decommitting. I like Jeff Lebby. I like what he did with Ole Miss. Him taking over, I don't think was like. I don't think it was. I don't think that was a huge step down. And so, I'm a believer in Dylan Gabriel. I'm a believer in him, and Marvin Mims just like lost some competition on the roster. So I think Marvin Mims is still a top target. He's definitely gonna get the opportunity to prove himself, and he's definitely gonna get the opportunity to take the step forward. So I'm not out on him, and I still think he's gonna be a day 2 draft capital guy.
Yeah, I don't know. He might end up as a day 2 guy. He might end up in that range, but this is more about his price right now, which is sometimes top 10, top 12 wide receiver, to what I think like his upside could be at the next level. Yeah. Like the one thing I actually looked into Marvin Mims a little bit ago. I don't think I wrote his profile for our Devy guide that's coming out, but I think I was looking at him anyways, and I was like looking at all his games, and this dude like just did like this weird disappearing act in 2021 where it was like he had 3 games over 100 yards, and the rest of them all together he was averaging 31 yards a game. So it was like he really blew up in those 3 games, and there were some of like the worst pass defenses too, like TTU, Texas, Tulane. Those were his 3 big games last year, and was like pretty much non-existent in the rest. And like his skill set to me is kind of weird for his size because he's 5'11", 180 pounds. Yet this guy like leads the team in contested catches last year. He excels on making those like leaping grabs, like makes those spectacular grabs. And like, I'm going to give him props for that. He's really good at high pointing the ball, all that, but I just don't see the quickness and separation that I want to see for a guy his size. I don't think he's going to be right away pigeonholed for an outside role on the outside where he can like excel being a contested catch guy or whatever. So I think he's like going to be in the slot at the next level, and he's going to be asked to run these short routes, these in and outs and stuff like that. I don't know if I see that kind of quickness from him. We'll see what happens this year. I don't think it's as bad as people are making out to seem. Like you said, I like Dylan Gabriel as a college quarterback. I'm not in him as much on Devy. I'll wait and see a little bit. I want to see what he does with this team before I, move him up too much more. I don't even know where I have him. It's pretty deep, I think. He's somewhere in the 30s for me. He's 39 for me.
Oh, Dylan?
Yeah. So he's pretty low for me in the Devy aspect, but I do think he's going to be a good CFF quarterback, and I do think Mims is going to be the top guy again as well. So he's going to have a chance to kind of prove me wrong. I just want to see a little bit more from him. I just want to see not so much of the high point contested catcher guys, spectacular catches. I want to see a little bit more from him.
Yeah, I see him as like a discount Chris Olave. Like that's kind of without the quickness, but like the same play style, the same like usage.
Yeah.
So I got you. And again, for me, it's like so. Like who do you have ranked behind him? Who do you have ranked in front? Like, like 2 names in front.
Open it quick. Okay. So where do I have him?
So like behind him for me, I have the 2 behind him. I have is
you have him at 10, right?
I have him at 14, and I have.
Oh, you did move him down a bit then since we last talked. At least we're actually closer than I thought, anyways.
So I have Cowling behind him, and I have Mumfield behind him. Like that's my 15 and 16.
I have him at 19. And he's next to Isaiah Bond.
Okay.
And he's next to Adam Randall right now. That's where I kind of just put him right now, just because I don't really know what to do with Adam Randall right now. But he's also Troy Franklin is right there behind him as well. So right in that area for me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm just not totally sold on him being more than what I see yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of ranking him for like I really do believe in the draft capital, but again for like NFL upside though, I'm with you there because I'm more focused on him getting to the league rather than afterwards. I guess I'm kind of maybe just getting a little too short sighted there and not looking past that important, the most important step.
It's a hard thing to balance, especially when we play in all these different leagues. Like even I find myself being like, oh, I'm super pumped with this guy. I'm like, then what's his upside at the next level? Like, I don't even know. Like he's too small. He's too short. He's too like, I don't. It's hard to balance, but yeah, that's why we have great teams here at Campus to Canton separating it all for you, so you can just come and we'll decipher it for you.
Yeah, and then talk it out.
You just made me drop him a couple spots, Mike.
Mims.
Yeah, I was picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, I moved him from 23 to 28. So
who do you give me like the 2 in front and the 2 behind?
2 in front of him are Matthew Golden, DJ Allen.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Matthew Golden, Evan Stewart, and then 2 behind him are Jaden Reed and Jalen McMillan.
I think I got Jaden Reed in like the 80s, the 90s.
I'm shocked you don't like Jaden Reed. You had like a freaking massive freshman year.
Isn't he like a late declare now? And he's like didn't do much since then.
He's late declare, but I think he transferred before the you got the bonus year, so he had to sit, and then he had a COVID year. So last year was really his second year, and he was really good again, over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns after the enormous breakout freshman year at Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan,
Michigan State.
No, he started his career somewhere else. He started in the MAC. He was with Jalen Hall,
Western Michigan.
Yeah, he was with those guys, and he broke out and he led the team in receiving as a true freshman.
Okay, okay. So he's going into his 4th year though.
I'm surprised you don't like him just because like I thought you liked the early breakout guys. I know the late declare stings a little bit, but I think he's just kind of one of those COVID casualty guys.
I like the early declare guys, and I know COVID's messing this all up, and I can't wait for the debate next year when it comes down to like is Wicks an early declare or not. So anyway.
Mike, this is a good question. Someone asked, Devy rankings based more off of projections. I think they have to be. What do you guys think? How do you measure a guy who hasn't done it yet versus a guy that has? Since that's kind of at the crux of what we're discussing here tonight.
Go ahead. Mike.
Yeah. I think it's definitely based off projections here. I mean, draft capital is like the number one thing. That's what everyone references. And it's like the number one correlation for success in the NFL is draft capital. I mean, you want first round wide receivers, and day 2 guys got their chance, and then like once it comes to like day 3, it's like 4 names the last like 20 years have become successful. So for me it's projection, and that's why like big schools matter too, and G5 schools matter. And so I mean, so like you'll see a bias. So like the Bama bump, there absolutely is a Bama bump in my rankings, like 100%. So like stuff like that. Yeah. Hey, what do you think, Corey?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of projection in Devy rankings too. I think there is sometimes some people like to rank a little bit more, like me being a little bit seldom with freshmen and stuff, like having them a little bit lower sometimes, is because sometimes I like to see it first. But you have to do some kind of projection, especially if you want to get ahead of people and get these guys before they like blow up and stuff like that. So I think it has to be a little bit of projection. There is some part of it that it's like I've seen it already, so of course I love to lock it in and feel good about it, feel confident about it. But it's all we do is projection with Devy, man. We're projecting to the next league, really. And I don't see how like Wicks doesn't break off another 1,000-yard season with Brennan Armstrong. You know, and if you have like 2,000-yard seasons going into the draft and you're a Power 5 receiver, like I don't really see you getting faded too hard. You know, yeah, he'll get looks. He'll get looks for sure.
1,000-yard receiving in like G5, like you can get faded absolutely for that, like 100%. Yeah, but let's move on to Dwayne McBride though. Okay. So you have him.
This one's easy, man. This one's piece of cake.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you. The only G5 guys that I think have a future in the NFL, like an actual like future, is Alton McCaskill, who just got hurt. So now we got to wait and see on that one. And then it's Lou Nichols and Dwayne McBride for me, which are right next to each other in my rankings. I actually moved them down. I moved them down to 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27.
I have
41.
I have him at, I don't know if I moved. I was playing around with it a little bit. Let me try to find a way. I have him at 49.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing. I think Dwayne McBride can be an early down back in the NFL, like the 1-2 down back, and get like that goal line production and stuff like that. I don't think he really gives anybody the receiving ability, but I believe he can lead the committee and be the guy in the committee. And that's why I have him there, which I do think as far as Devy goes, like that's his ceiling. Like I don't see myself moving him up from where he's at. Because everyone else, I think, in front of him are all guys with like 3 down skill sets for me. So yeah, as far I guess maybe he's the start of the early down back part of my rankings. Because I got Lou Nichols next, I got Christian Rodriguez behind him. Yeah. Anyway, he's like the start of the committee tier for me, but like the committee tier that I believe actually gets involved.
Yeah. I mean, this one just like pretty much comes down to the basics for me. Or he's a G5 player. He hasn't even been dominating the G5 either. He hasn't even been dominating his competition. He took like a little bit even to get going last year. Like he didn't really turn it on until halfway through the season. He's had some good efficiency moments. Like I remember the COVID year, he was averaging like freaking 10 yards a carry or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he has that size speed thing that you want, but he's pretty much an absolute zero in the receiving game as well. And UAB does throw to their backs. It's not like they didn't. The other guy there, Brown, I can't remember his first name right now. But he almost caught.
Jordan. It starts with a J. I know it starts with a J.
I don't know. But he caught like 30 passes last year or something like that too. So it's not like they don't utilize him. I know he's a smaller guy too. I remember looking him up, and he's more obviously for that role. But why don't you throw it to Dwayne a little bit more too? But so right now he feels like a complete zero, and that he does feel like a 2-down banger. But now we're talking about a 2-down banger from the G5, and I'm just wondering what the NFL upside is here. Like I'm just like, do I want that? Like even a 2-down banger, what do you want nowadays? Is like. The essential guy is Nick Chubb. That's the guy who really starts for fantasy teams. That's the upside you want. Damien Harris, sure, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, that's 2 cases out of how many though? Like that's what you're praying for to happen. Like there's not receiving upside there. So I don't know. It's a hard sell for me. I'm going to have to see a lot more. I want to see him dominate his competition too. I mean, we're already talking about a lower level of competition. He should be going off for like 100 yards every freaking game, man.
Well, he went off for 100 yards on 6 games last year. That's half his games. It took him like 2 games to pick up.
And it was all the back half of the season. Like he finally got his shot out the gate and didn't do nothing.
You're really, his efficiency wasn't bad. His second game was against Georgia. He was the second leading rusher against Georgia all season. And only Dameon Pierce beat him out. I mean, he averaged like what, 4.7 yards a carry against Georgia. Like you can't find that anywhere against Georgia. Like,
that's because they're probably getting killed, and you just like got it at the end of the game or something. I don't know. I can't remember. I didn't watch that game yet.
That's true. I think he's got a little more wiggle too. He has 78 missed tackles for us on 200 carries.
He has a size and speed ratio that's like intriguing. Yeah. Like if there was more to it, like there's a little bit more to the profile overall, like a little bit better pedigree, I might be in more. But for like right now, I'm kind of just like I'm favoring the guys with the pedigree first because it's a low probability player, right? You have to kind of you're hitching your wagon to him, and that's cool. Like that's fine. I'm just like choosing the reserved route, I guess. Like I'm not trying to hitch my wagon to him yet, you know.
I guarantee here next year, well, maybe 2 years from now, you can go ahead and put this on a board somewhere, that the fantasy Twitter community is going to call Dwayne McBride the next Elijah Mitchell and the next whatever late round running back hits. Because I feel like that's what's going to happen. Because I do think he's efficient. He had almost 10 yards a carry.
Yeah. He has efficient moments too. Yeah, he does.
And then last year he had 6.7. And like besides Georgia, he plays BYU, who I actually have no idea how their defense is, but they're like a decent team, and he still ripped off 183 yards for 6.5 yards a carry.
Yeah. I mean, he turned it on near the end. Like I remember like all of us were in, I think a lot of the Campus Can guys were in too on him for like C2C and CFF purposes. Like we were all in, and I remember being so disappointed, like out the gate. Like we were talking about dropping him at like week 5. We're like, can we drop him for somebody else? Like, so it was pretty disappointing, I guess. Maybe that's kind of sitting with me too a little bit, that I'm like that I was that disappointed with him. So
yeah, week 1, 54 yards and 2 fumbles. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember it was terrible.
It was not pretty.
And then you had Georgia next, who doesn't make you look good either. And then he had limited carries. Week 4, he turned it back on. But yeah, he did struggle. I do remember that. But the reason why I have him up there is that I do think he gets, I'm not sure I'm going to say like day 2 draft capital, but I do think he finds a lead role in the committee. You know, like the Patriots does do with Damien Harris. And he gets like some relevant weeks based on if he scores a touchdown or not, which I think could happen depending on the team. That's why he's there. Which he's definitely ranked at his ceiling. I would definitely not move him up from where he's at right now.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I'm just being more reserved. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's just a UDFA or like is in camp and sits on a practice squad. Like, just somebody who has that size, speed, that's intriguing, that just never really like fully develops at the next level.
So give me the two guys you got in front of him right now. I just want to know.
Let's see. Where is he? I lost him now. Hold on. I have George Pettaway and Ollie Gordon.
Okay.
So 2 freshmen. But yeah, again, I'm pretty reserved on freshmen. I'm sure you guys have them maybe ranked a little more aggressively, but I think I have a total of like maybe 10 throughout the whole thing ranked.
No, I think it's ironic. I think it's ironic because twice now you named off 2 guys I have also together, but somewhere else. So I have Pettaway and Gordon next to each other, but they're at 49 and 50.
Oh, see, so you're actually more reserved than I am too. So,
yeah,
or no,
am
I? Yeah.
Yeah, but in front of him at my 28, I have Zach Charbonneau at 27, and then I lost my spot, and then I have Andrew Paul at 20. Sorry, Zach Charbonneau 26, Andrew Paul 25.
Oh, see, those 2 were in front of him actually for me. Behind him, if we're going behind him, I have EJ Smith and Chris Tyree.
Yeah, I got Lou Nichols and then Quinshon Judkins. Yeah, and I got Justin Williams in front of them too. I love Justin Williams. I think he's like,
I love Justin Williams too. So we just got to get Austin on board. Stop calling him.
I
Jordan
think
Howard.
I'm giving him a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Howard is a great ceiling for any running back.
I think
I just hope that it's more of a ceiling.
Yeah, I think I'm ready. Depending on the Maryland spring game, I think I might move him in front of Ramon Brown.
Mm-hmm. And I want to see what's going on because Jabari Small wasn't practicing the last time that I saw it too. So that there might be some kind of opening there that we got to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I think I wrote. I'm not sure in an article. It might have been on the Devy guide. Anyway, I wrote that Tennessee's really great at developing talent that transfers out. Don't they know, like across the board, like their linebacker went to Alabama, Eric Gray went to Oklahoma, and then
that was before though. They changed regime since then.
I know, but I just think it was hilarious that it just consistently seems like their guys do well and they're like, deuces, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All right, let me see. We got one more left. We got Cardwell left. So you had him at 18 and I had him at 33. I think I since moved him up to 32. How about that?
Oh, one spot. That's nice.
I really like Jordan James coming in. And I do believe Oregon is a team that develops NFL talent. Now, they vary in their draft capital, but they're pretty consistent in making it to the NFL. And so, they brought in Noah Whittington. I'm not really worried about Noah Whittington. Who else? Didn't they bring in like don't they have like a lot of guys that are like interesting, but like
they have Sean Dollars, who I loved after his freshman year. I don't know if it was the bowl game or the Pac-12 championship game that year where he went off. I think against USC, if I remember correctly. He looked really good in that game.
And it sounds like he's had a decent spring too, Dollars.
Yeah.
So
I like Cardwell. I just before I put him up, like I feel like I need to see it on the field. You know, like these freshmen get like a clean slate. There's no negative against them for Cardwell. It's just like I just haven't seen him do anything yet, and that's kind of why he's at 32. But I'm not like down on him. Like I'm definitely like he's in my radar. Like I'm definitely gonna be watching out for his production this year.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just like starting off with, you already have NFL size coming in, 6'2", 210.
I love that.
I think he has good freshman production because like I kind of look at it with context. Like I don't think he even got like 6 carries within like the first 6 weeks. Like he didn't touch the ball like at all. And then CJ Verdell went down. He started touching the ball a little bit more. How many carries? 52 more carries over the back half of the season, operating as number 2 guy, averaged 7.2 yards per carry over those, and very explosive to like 50% of his yards around breakaway runs. He actually led the entire backfield over Travis Dye, over Verdell, for 50 or more yards, 50 or more yard runs. 13% of them went for 50 or more yards. Now he kind of gets his chance, right? Dye's gone to USC. Verdell is gone to the NFL. I don't even know when he's going to get drafted. He's not getting no buzz at all, I guess, but he had a pretty bad end to his career. Anyway.
My issue with Cardwell is that the way you talked about Dwayne McBride, that's how I feel about Cardwell, that I just feel like he disappeared against upper competition, and Dwayne McBride doesn't have a lot of opportunities to prove it. But like, I mean, two yards a carry. Well, no, they only got one carry. But like Oklahoma, 2.8 yards per carry against Oklahoma. I remember that during the bowl game. I didn't really feel like he stepped up. I mean, he definitely had like 3 games, I think, here that he like killed it, or 2 games.
Yeah, there was like a three game stretch there where he was like freaking freshman of the week or whatever, Pac-12 freshman of the week, and like he I don't know, and like the buzz out of spring is sounding good too. Like freaking he didn't play in the spring game, but I did post just an article because I finally found out what was going on or whatever. But they just kept him out of precaution, which is to me a good sign because they're trying to protect the guy. Right. And Dillingham was going off about him, calling him that he's had a phenomenal spring. Had 170 yards in a scrimmage recently, and that he's so excited to watch this kid, and that they're pretty much talking about him like he's the starter. So, like, I guess I'm just excited to see what he can do in that role. He's got a lot of tools already that the NFL likes. He's explosive, got the size, big play threat. So I want to see what he can do in this lead role. I think he's got the chance to take it. What is he going to do with it? So this is kind of like a trying to get ahead of the train, I guess, ranking him that high. Because I'm hoping that he kind of hits it, right? So.
Are you going to use that my guy stamp on the Devy guy on him?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. We only get one per position now, I think. So I gotta pick my guy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, man. I was like, maybe Caden Prather.
It's gotta be deeper, I guess, right? Because like I guess you can't go somebody near the top because that's
I might slap it on Jermaine Burton.
That's a meme move. That's a meme.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No, like I really like Sanders, like Rocket Sanders. Like I've been his fan for like ever or whatever. But I think he's probably valued too highly now to make him a my guy because he's like valued at his ceiling right now. I don't think I can my guy him because my guy's like a guy who's gonna climb, right? I guess so. It might be Cardwell. We'll see.
Where do you got Sanders right now in your rankings?
Sanders high, probably higher than all of you, to be honest. Where do I have him? Let's see. I have Sanders at maybe I lowered him a little bit. Actually, I might want him more than Donovan Edwards, but he's at 12 right now.
Oh, same. I got him at 12 as well.
Okay, I might move him ahead of. I probably will move him ahead of Donovan. For some reason, I have Branson in front of him. I'm probably going to drop Branson. I don't know why.
I got Branson at 11 as well.
See, so we're around the same area.
Yeah, I do got Sean Tucker and Tank in front. I don't know why. I've been a little woozy on Tank and Tucker, and Tank's hard to be in on because he's destined to have a bad year again thanks to Auburn's system and coaching.
Yeah.
And so
I don't even know I have him so high. Why do I have him at 5? That can't be right. No way he should be that high.
Every time you look at rankings, we're like, I got to fix this now.
Yeah, I got to fix this. There's always something to fix. But there's no way. I just dropped him to 9. He's going to sit at 9 right now. Right in front of the freshman until we see what happens with him.
I think I'm the highest on Taj Brooks. Just where you got Taj Brooks at? Because I got him at 20.
I have him pretty low. I actually wrote his profile. I can't remember. I was starting a couple games. I can't remember exactly what I found of him. Obviously not a speed guy. Nimble on his feet for like a bigger guy or something like that. But
like short area burst type dude.
Yeah, like short area burst here guy. But I don't think that I was like super wowed by him. But I'd have to go see what I wrote anyways because I never really studied him until that point. But
gotcha. Yeah, I got him 20. He's definitely like my mid-round C2C draft like darling. I got to get him.
Oh, C2C, yeah, he might be fun in the offense. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, these quarterbacks look a little better than they looked or whatever, and this offense can actually move. But
yeah, Austin, while we have you here, I don't know what to do with Abanaconda. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't know what to do with him in my rankings. Like, where do you have him? Like, what do you think about him?
He's dropped a little bit for me. Like, I really like him. I think the coaching staff has kind of been way too committed to a committee while he's been there, and now it's his second offensive coordinator. So I'm interested to see what they do. Like last year, it was just painfully obvious he was the best back. Like there was in that Wake Forest game in the ACC championship game was like the microcosm of it. There was a drive where basically Izzy took him the whole way down the field in like 4 touches. They got to like the 4-yard line and they pulled him and they put in another back who tried to punch it in twice, got stuffed both times, and then they put Izzy back in and he put it right in. Like that was just like the story of him at Pitt. He's over 210 now. Like I think he's a good athlete. Like he had very good verified athletic testing numbers. I'm worried again this year. I thought new offensive coordinator, the guy from Boston College, he would do a bell cow thing. But they had I forget what this kid's name is. Another running back won like most improved player this spring. And then they still have Hammonds there as well, who was kind of like a rotational guy last year. So I don't know what they're going to do, but like I'm so perplexed. Like, it's just so painfully obvious when you watch Pitt that he's their best back. Like, so I've dropped him a little bit just because if he doesn't do anything in college, like, I don't know how I can project this kid, but I just think if he'd been given a real opportunity by now, he would have had, like, I think he's capable in college of like a 14 to 1,500 all-purpose yard type season.
Yeah.
Like, really, I think he's a good pass catcher. I think he's a really good athlete. I don't know what they're doing there.
He's the guy I stare at in my rankings, in the running back rankings, that I stare at, and I'm like, why do I have him here?
I think I've dropped him into like my 40s now.
Okay, see, I have him at 18, and I just don't know why. And
35.
I'm always staring at him. I'm like, I got to drop this guy. I got to.
So here's the bunch that I have him in right now.
Okay.
I have Jordan James, AJ Green at Arkansas, Justin Williams, Izzy, Javonte Barnes as like a group of 5 there. And I think they're all pretty comparable value-wise. Dwayne McBride, the guy right after them. We were just talking about him. So
yeah.
But it's an interesting group. A lot of upside. Don't know what to do, like, really, with any of them. So
okay, so last question before we wrap it up here for both of you. What is one player that you've raised up your ranks the most during the spring games here? I can go ahead and start what you guys think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I tweeted at Austin about this too. I think Austin was a year too early on Dwayne Lofton of Virginia Tech. I like Grant Wells enough. I mean, Grant Wells, he threw for 3,500 yards last year at Marshall. And if you watch him in the spring game, he doesn't look like a 3,500 yard type passer. But that's good for like top 20 for passing yards. And I don't really see anyone on Virginia Tech's roster that really wows me, except for Lofton. And Lofton won the spring camp MVP, offensive MVP award for the team. And I know he dealt with injuries last year. And they just lost Tavion Robinson to Kentucky, and then they lost Trey Turner to the draft. And so I think it's a wide open field. They have a proven passer. I think Lofton's going to step into that role and have like a really nice season. So Lofton's gone from like probably like in my 80s or 90s to like around like the 50s for me. Like I'm, on the fringe there. And Isaiah Neyor, he's also raised up for me too, but not that much, not as much as that.
My cop-out answer probably is going to be because he jumped a good I don't know, 15 or something spots, but that's Christian Leary from Alabama because he looked pretty good in the spring game, and I also think that Earl struggled a little bit. So maybe if Earl continues to struggle or something like that, we might see a little bit more Leary, but we'll see. I don't know. I really like Earl too. So if he can put it together with the athleticism, then he'll probably never come off the field. But I mean, if he continues to drop balls that are thrown to him wide open, then might see Leary a little more than we all think, handling that slot role. So maybe I moved him up. He's in my early 30s now, whereas before he was pretty low because he seemed like he was going to be like the forgotten guy at Alabama, and maybe I have to transfer somewhere to like get that value bump back and to see where he ended up. But I don't know. He looked maybe like the best wide receiver in the game. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I'll go with, I think the guy that rose the most for me in pure Devy rankings is Dante Thornton from Oregon. I'm very much known as a person that really hates tall wide receivers generally coming out of high school. I think a lot of them, they really lack movement skills. They're basically just mossing everybody, and which is really cool when it's this kid who is going to be a plumber in 5 years. It's a lot more difficult when you're facing, legitimate Division I talent. So I was pretty off of him coming. I think he was like my wide receiver 20 or something in last year's class. I was not impressed that much with him last year. And then going into the offseason with Bo Nix there, defensive head coach, an offense coordinator with, I guess, an uninspiring background, we could call him. So I was pretty far out on him, and I had dropped Franklin a few spots as well. But Thornton, had the big day. He looked pretty smooth. can he occupy the Devin Williams role there? Or, it's a new offense coordinator, so like it's a stretch to say that. But like I think he could legitimately be the second or third option on that team. I think the first option is going to be Seven McGee. I have no idea what to do with Seven McGee right now because he's tiny. But Thornton's a guy that I think he went from like basically not ranked for me to wide receiver 55, and I could see him sliding a little higher depending on just me thinking more about these things over the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah, I have him at 47 now, so I think I gave him like a little bit of a bump too. But like, yeah, he had the big bowl game last year as well, and then starting this spring good. So I mean, I don't even think Troy Franklin's ever had that big of a game, and he's had like 2 of them now. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. He might be the more the guy to handle that role.
I have not gotten around to Oregon spring game yet, so I will be excited to watch that. Did Mississippi have their spring game yet? Mississippi State?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't think
I'm
they did.
pretty sure they did.
I just want to know who Will Rogers is throwing it to. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards, and I want to know who's going to catch at least 800 of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to predict.
It is. Maybe we'll return to Wally now.
I've heard good things about was it Austin Jackson?
Okay.
And somebody else has been getting the buzz there at wide receiver, and then Ra Thomas as well, who's just a fun guy to root for because his name's Ra.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me think of the end of A Christmas Story when they go to the dogs eat their goose or whatever, and they go out to the Chinese place and they're trying to sing the Christmas carols to him. Ra Thomas just always makes me think of that when they're at the thing. And you could not make that scene today, but that classic scene just cracks me up every time.
All right, and then we have the NFL draft coming up. Campus Can's doing a live coverage of that on day 2, day 3. Is that Austin? Is that open to the public or just to the Discord?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest. I have zero interest in the draft this year, so I'm like my fingerprints are not on this thing at all. I'm doing nothing tomorrow night or Friday night, so I have no idea.
Okay, well, if you guys want to join me and Matt on Friday, we'll get a little bit early in and talk about the first round draft picks, and you get to see our reactions as I see the Patriots draft a cornerback in the second that's going to bust consistently. And I just every single year, man, like Duke Dawson, Jawan Williams,
Vikings too, man. All our cornerbacks go somewhere else and then do okay, but they suck for us, and we always take them in the first and second round.
Yeah. But I live for the day 3 for the Patriots. That's where we make our hay. That's it. But anyway, yeah, join us then, guys. Thanks for listening.
Do you guys have the power to end this, or do I have to end it?
No, I think you have to end it. This is honestly my first time I've been able